Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This week in WordPress, can you believe it? Episode 218. Ridiculous, I hear you scream. But we've managed to get there. And we're joined this week by three lovely guests. We've got the often here, Michelle Frechette. How are you doing, Michelle?
Good. I actually don't think of myself as a guest. I think of myself as a rotational co-host.
That's it. You are a rotational co-host. I like it. I like the rotational bit. You are one of our 6 rotational co-hosts. But a pleasure to have you back again. If you
It's
don't
always
know
good to be
Michelle,
here.
yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate the time that you put into
Hmm.
it. Michelle, if you don't know, is the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP at Liquid Web. In addition to her work at Stellar WP, Michelle is the podcast barista at WPCoffeetalk.com. Sorry, WPCoffeetalk.com. I think I butchered that. And she's the co-founder of underrepresentedintech.com, creator of WP Career Pages, the president of the board for BigOrangeHeart.org, director of community relations and contributor at poststatus.com. She's an author, a business coach, and a frequent organizer and speaker at WordPress events. She lives outside of Rochester, New York, where she's an avid nature photographer. And as we'll find out in a moment, she's just added something else to that biography, which we'll no doubt say in weeks to come. But you can find out more about her at meetmichelle.online. Pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us again,
Thank you.
Michelle. Yeah. And we've got 2 people that we've never had on the show before, so that's always a pleasure for me. It's lovely to have some new guests. And thank you for joining us. First of all, let's go to Kristen Wright. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well.
Where are you based, Kristen?
I'm in the very hot Oklahoma City at the moment.
Okay. Okay. So does that mean it's ridiculously early where you are? Oh, I'm sorry.
Not too early. Not too
Okay.
early.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. I'll do your biography as well. Kristen Wright is the marketing director at iThemes. Founded in 2008, iThemes was one of the very first premium WordPress companies and is best known for their WordPress security plugin, iThemes Security, which we will be talking about very shortly towards the end because they've got some nice new features coming out. There's also Backup Body, which was the original WordPress backup plugin. And since 2011, Kristen has led content, email, and product marketing at iThemes, working behind the scenes to build one of the most trusted brands in WordPress. And on the side, she's the creator of the Transformation Year, a year-long email series with daily journaling prompts. She's the author of 2 books on journaling, Tell the Trial and A Tiny Existence. Right, before we go and introduce Nick, I don't even know what journaling is. So tell me very briefly, what is journaling? I mean, I'm guessing it's like just a daily, what I
It
might call
is.
keeping a diary.
It is a lot like keeping a
Okay.
diary, in fact. So it's just like a daily record of your day and insights, introspection, all that good stuff. So
And
it has a
so is
lot
the
of mental health benefits.
okay. I was going to say, is the purpose of it to sort of go back and examine what you did from a sort of mental health point of view and take note of where you were and how your journey was on that day and what which things worked for you and which things didn't.
Yeah, it's just it's a conversation with yourself, I guess.
Oh,
So for a
okay.
lot of people, you need that outlet to be able to kind of reflect on your day and your
Oh,
life.
that's amazing. That's really cool. So, well, there you go. There's a new guest, Kristen. So, thank you for joining us today. And last but by no means least, we're joined by Nick Adams. How are you doing, Nick? And where are you?
Doing great. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, where it is also equally ridiculously hot right now.
Yeah. Do you know what? I live in the UK, which basically 363 and a half days of the year, you can never say that. But today is one of those times when it is. They've got the sun streaming in. You can see I'm basically in heaven. Everything's sort of like this pearly white, and it's lovely and hot here. But yeah, thank you for joining us, Nick. I'll just do your bio as well. Nick Adams, as you can see, he is the CEO of WP Buffs. Since 2016, WP Buffs has been providing 24/7 WordPress support and maintenance. Their global team of experts take care of your entire website so that you have time and freedom to focus on what you really want to do. How's it all going over there at WP Buffs? Are you still continuing on your growth path?
Absolutely, yeah. The team is continuing to grow and just being all over the place. Our team is on every continent except for Antarctica. So if anybody's got any leads on any scientists or penguins looking for a job, we can get on that last continent.
That's so good. Imagine that, having a maintenance plan for a website in Antarctica. That'd be so cool. Just to tick all the boxes, get all the. Do you know what? Do it. Let's see if we can find somebody in Antarctica. Thank you for joining us, all three of you. I really appreciate it, and thank you for anybody who's coming into the comments. Feel free to drop in any comments. If you wish to remain anonymous on Facebook, that's fine. But if you don't wish to remain anonymous and you would like us to know what you look like with your avatar and so on, then you've got to go through this little step. You've got to go to chat.restream.io/FB. Once more, chat.restream.io/FB, and that will de-anonymize you and we'll get to see who you are. Like, for example, well, actually, Kathy is coming to us via Google Comments because she's over on the WP Builds page, I think, and she says, "Hi, Carmen." That's very nice. And you see, this person has not de-anonymized themselves. I don't know who they are. Michelle is.
I'm gonna guess. Can I guess?
Yeah, go on.
I think it's Picha, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
So.
all right, let's find out. Michelle is 100% winning the vibrancy contest this week. You're talking about... okay, yeah. I never win that contest. Like, there's no chance that I will ever win that.
I can send you some purple dye if you'd like.
No, don't send me the purple dye. Oh, dear. Maybe for charity one time. No offense to everyone else, says Peach, none taken. And as always, you get an award or something, Cameron. He's always staying up late on a Monday night. He's in Australia. Can you send some heat wave my way? Bloody freezing here, he says. just wait a few weeks, Cameron. I'm sure that things will turn around. If you do want to join us in the comments, I'd really appreciate that. And maybe stop for a moment and go and share this. It's wpbuilds.com /live. There you go, wpbuilds.com /live. And see if we can get some more people in having a chat with us. There's quite a few already, but right, let's get on with it, shall we? Let's share the screen and start nattering and droning on about WordPress as we always do. First off, this is our website, wpbuilds.com. If you fancy subscribing, click that link and we'll keep you up to date. We don't need to say much more than that. If it was Peacher on the comments just then, well, I'm doing a thing with Peacher tomorrow. We typically try to do it each month, but COVID and WordCamp Europe kind of got in the way a little bit. So we had a month or maybe 2 months off this time around, but we're doing one again tomorrow. We're doing one of our live UI UX appraisals, and it's happening at 3 p.m. UK time. So it's basically more or less this sort of time-ish. And we're going to do live, and she dissects a couple of websites. If you would like some professional tips and tricks from Peacher, go to wpbuilds.com /UI, and you can fill out that form. And we will hopefully, therefore, feature your show for free. You get some expert tips about some UI, UX aspects for free. So, yeah. Was it Peacher? Do we know? Anybody know? Was it Peacher?
No, it was apparently
Matt. Oh, it wasn't Peacher. No, look.
It wasn't Peacher.
It was Matt. Was it you, Matt? Consider me the budget. Consider me the budget. Or the 0.01 alpha version. Nice to have you, Matt. Oh, that's great. Thank you. It made me chuckle, that comment. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's get stuck into the news properly. So we're going to be talking about images a lot, plugins a lot, themes a lot this week. It really is ground into WordPress this week. Sometimes we go off-piste a bit, but not so much this week, because there is a plan for adding WebP native support in WordPress. I don't know if you know, but WebP is like all the rage. If you go into any image editing program these days, that's one of the options, along with JPEG and GIF and all of those things. But it hasn't been included in WordPress core. But the performance team is looking for serious feedback about whether this should be added to WordPress core. It seems to me like a bit of a no-brainer, but there you go. They found during some research that really there's a lot of support for it now. There's almost nothing that doesn't support it. So, for example, only a few versions of Safari on Mac OS don't support it, and that only represents less than 3% of people browsing the internet. 97% of email clients support WebP. RSS readers, basically all of the top ones, they don't say which ones they are, but the top RSS readers don't support it. And also they went out and reached out to web hosts and said, look, would this be a problem if we create WebP images as well? In other words, if you upload an image and they create a WebP image, you are, of course, using up some more storage. And the web said, no, sweat it not. Don't worry. Looks like on most hosts, storage isn't a concern. Most people are not using anywhere near the allocation that they're paying for. Now, it may be that if you're on a super cheap host that this won't be possible anyway. They haven't built in the support for WebP. But it would appear that really it's a bit of a no-brainer. The proposal is to have a 355 byte, not kilobyte, byte, uncompressed piece of JavaScript, which would detect whether there was WebP support, and they would only create the WebP images for user-facing content. So, for example, they would still put JPEGs and so on into RSS feeds and things like that. It would only be on the front end of your site. Anyway, there you go. That's the long and the short of it. WebP, I say, let's have it. It's over to you three.
I'm all for it personally. I mean, WebP has been around and really just like a solid format for well over a decade at this point, and so to finally see it getting core support and the ability to auto generate WebP images, I think is going to be great. They work great and they're in very nice file sizes.
Yeah, that's the piece, isn't it? It's about the file size, and obviously this has been suggested by the performance team because smaller payloads coming across the wire is better for the environment, it's better for your speed, it's better for your search engine ranking. There's no downside. It's just that we don't have it. So yeah, good point. It's all about the file size coming out the other end. And I forget what it is, but I believe off the top of my head, it's like a 40% reduction on a typical JPEG, something like that. It's a lot. And if you've got an image heavy site, this is going to matter. Sorry, carry on. Kristen or Michelle?
Yeah, I mean,
reducing speed is important. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, just as far as image size, output too, that's something we see a lot with Backup Buddy customers. It does affect even things like your backups, right? Like you end up having enormous backups because, your images. So a lot of average users don't really realize the impact of image size on their overall size. So,
Michelle.
Yeah. So I had, when I was freelancing, I had a customer, not even a customer, a local WordPress meetup attendee said, I don't understand why my site isn't working so well. Can I come over? Will you take a look with me? And the hero image was 40,000 pixels wide. And it's not an exaggeration. Like it was.
Oh dear.
I tried to load the site and it like after 45 seconds, there was still nothing coming up. I said, well, let's take a look at this. I'm like, well, let's replace this image first. And then of course it was much faster, but I can see that people who don't know, people who do know what they're doing would love this. People who don't know what they're doing, this would be truly beneficial for.
That's the piece, I think, in that if you are doing this professionally, you just know this, right? You've been told this countless times, is to optimize your images, make the images the size that they need to be and nothing greater. But if you're just a casual user of WordPress, which is probably the vast majority of installs of WordPress, then an image is an image is an image, and who cares? It's a photograph that I took and it's 14 megapixels. Doesn't matter, it'll be fine. And of course it won't. A lot of the image squishing services like Smush and Short Pixel and Jetpack, I believe, has got it. They've been doing this for a long time, but the idea of putting it into core, I think, is really clever. There's a bit that I missed off the bottom of the article where it said that they would own. So this is hopefully coming in WordPress 6.1, and it would only create WebP versions of the core image sizes. So if you've registered quirky, 16 different types of images that all get created, that it won't be dealing with that at the beginning. It will only do the large, medium, and thumbnail to begin with, and it will only create WebP images if they are going to. Well, I don't know how it works it out, but it's going to work out whether it'll save you space. If it's smaller, it'll make it. If it's not, then it won't. And they'll only be making, and again, I don't know quite how they're going to work this out. It will only create WebP images for things which are intended for use on the front end, which for me is pretty much everything I upload. So I can't really think what the other scenarios are. But anyway, there you go. If you're interested, the piece is over at make.wordpress.org. And it's a piece that was written on the 30th of June by Adam Silverstein or Silverstein. So you can follow it up if you're interested about that. Okay. Oh, there's Peacher. Hello. Peacher, did you miss the bit? I mentioned the fact that we're doing a show tomorrow, and so that bit's already come. If it is, what's this, Nick? I don't get this. Do you know a guy called Jeff Betancourt? If it is Nick approved, then it's the way of the future.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Jeff is one of the smartest people in WordPress, and I 100% agree with his statement.
Whatever Jeff says goes, and he approves. Jeff approves this message.
I'm pretty sure he has knee right now. Yeah.
That's his knee right there behind me.
Oh, oh, that's really meta. The thumb goes up for a brief moment. I think. That's hysterical. There's somebody watching right over the other side of the room. Oh, that's lovely. And hello there, Vikas from Bangalore in India. Very nice to have you with us. I don't think we've met before, but lovely to have you. Okay, let's move on. We've talked about WebP. Let's move on and talk about this one. You can, by the way, right, just a complete aside, does anybody ever read this bit in the grey box at the top when you go to make.wordpress.org? Do you ever read that bit, or is it just this bit here? Or is it just annoying that like it has to be there all the time? Wouldn't this be better in a sidebar or something? There you go. Rant over. WP drama coming at you. Right. This, I think, is super cool. I am really bullish about this. I hope this happens. I'm already going to say it. So this is Channing Ritter on make.wordpress.org. She's got a proposal for a new kind of default theme. So obviously, every year, more or less, we get a new default theme, and it looks like this, and it looks like that, and you may like it, or you may hate it, you may use it, but typically I don't think many people do use it. She's got this idea that wouldn't it be nice if instead of creating a theme which is specific to a particular use case, what about if the theme was just to really drill down on style variations? And style variations came in WordPress 6, and it's the ability, if you're looking at the screen, you can see there's an image of what we're talking about. It's the ability to change out things like typography by clicking parts of the new editor UI. So you could change all of the fonts, the colors, and basically just completely modify how the site looks and feels by setting up some style variations. And so the proposal is, well, let's do that. Let's make a new default theme, which is pretty bland out of the box, but that you can click and change the style variations to radically alter it and make it like basically really use this feature. And she says, what if instead of emphasizing the theme itself, we highlighted an opinionated set of style variations designed by members of the community? It would be interesting to experiment how opinionated we could make each of the variations. Maybe one variation makes all typography on the site use a single type in monospace font, while another uses many different fonts paired together. I think that pushing the boundaries of what can be done with style variation format should be the goal. If we can have fun seeing what kind of things can come up with the process. And so that's it. It's a pretty short piece, but it got a lot of comments. Loads and loads of comments, which is not normal. Lots and lots of comments, mostly favorable. I haven't written a comment, but if I did write a comment, it would be highly favorable. I think this is a really cool idea. And I've said enough, so it's up to you three now.
I think it's great. It's something that a lot of third-party premium themes outside of the WordPress repository, they've had that option for a while. I think it makes a lot of sense, rather than having to either customize the theme every time you want to check out a different style, or worse, having to constantly change themes just to get the style that you want. I mean, it's great if you find a good theme where you like the overall layout and it's got good code. And I think good code, this is coming from a developer, so of course that's my big thing. If theme's got good code, it's great to be able to stick with it. Nice clean code, and these style variations really allow you to change up quite a bit without having to switch themes or even having to customize it yourself.
Yeah, thank you. That's really interesting. So, Michelle or Kristen, anything?
Yeah, so I really hate when people make things easier. Said nobody ever. So
yeah. Good point. Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, that's all you needed to say. Yeah, that's right. Kristen, anything on this?
I love it. I think one of the things about default themes is that they kind of show us how all these things should work together, right? I think that it's always the best example because the core team is working on it. So to see how it's implemented and to see like, okay, this is what's possible with, full site editing, style variations, it'd be really awesome to see. So
yeah, because we've always had an opinionated theme, haven't we? 2022. Yes. I could actually use 2022, but a lot of the other ones I haven't really been able to use, and they, you just sort of fear that they're a bit too generic. But with this one, if it's fairly plain and the focus is really on the typography and just messing around, just to show off what can be done with the technology, you probably won't end up using whatever font combination they've gone or got or color combination, but the fact that you can actually do it and it's highlighting it, I think that's really cool. And we had a suggestion last week, I can't remember what the piece was, and it might have been on the Tavern, about using block patterns in the new default theme as well. So having a ton of different block patterns that you can actually download on the wordpress.org side as well is quite interesting. And I've learnt something today because Courtney has schooled me, and how did I not know? So apparently, Courtney tells me that there's a little box. Look at that. It says hide welcome box. And if you click it, look what it does. It hides the welcome box. Courtney, do you know if this... I'm going to refresh this page and let's see if it's sticky. Look, it stays hidden. Right, that's it. From now on, I'm never seeing that little grey box ever again. Thank you, Courtney. I've learned something new. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but after you hide things like that, then you go, nobody's ever told me that before. And then you're like, well, it's in the gray box that you hid.
Yeah, and then I'm in like a month from now, I'm going to be saying, why is there this little thin grey band at the bottom of at the top of every single... It's pointless. Get rid of it. Cameron says, I think it's a good idea, but I can't help but laugh at it because Matt recently said he wanted thousands of full site editing themes and mixed messages. I feel, yeah, I get your point about that, Cameron. It does feel to me as if we might be heading for a point where we just don't need that many themes. We just need a handful of well-built themes that we just drop patterns into. I don't know if that's the direction that's desirable or not, but it does feel like that's where it's going for me. Team reps, says Courtney, might want the grey box if you want to find meetings. Okay, I'm going to enable it again because now I feel bad for the team reps. So the box is back and it's going to stay there. I should never have mentioned it. Okay, moving on. We're on the Tavern. Sarah Gooding, who, by the way, I think is doing a pretty terrific job given the fact that Justin Tadlock left probably, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago, or she's had to step into the breach. I think she's doing an amazing job. So well done, Sarah. WordPress design contribute. Oh, this is the sorry, I do apologize. I'm sort of repeating myself. I was supposed to miss that tab out. I was supposed to come to this one. So we did WebP images. Now we're talking about SVG images. So today it's all about the images. WordPress performance team is working on a module for SVG uploads. I use SVGs for just every logo. I have done for years now. And you have to, because it's not an image, it's not allowed in the media library by default. It's kind of weird, isn't it? I think if you're a non-experienced WordPress user and your graphic designer gave you an SVG image and said, just upload that to your website, you'd be a bit perplexed why it didn't work, because you would probably assume, well, it's an image. What? But it isn't. It's a file format. And because it's a file format, it brings a load of XML text nonsense with it, which is potentially, I say potentially, a security problem. Now, there's a few plugins like SVG Support or Safe SVG, which have got staggering install bases, by the way. SVG Support has got nearly 1 million. And Safe SVG has got over 600,000. So we know that this stuff is desirable, but the intention here is the performance team want to see if we can have this built into core. And not a lot more to say, really. I just think, why not? Let's have some kind of sanitizing process built into WordPress core, and let's have SVGs all over the internets.
I pinged Timothy Jacobs, lead developer of IT Security, to just kind of unpack what are the security concerns with SVG files, because it's hard, it's just hard to unpack like what's really going on here with SVG files. And he gave me a very lengthy explanation, and I thought it was really interesting because it's stuff I didn't really realize before. And so there's kind of like two parts to this, right? That like on the one hand, if you create your own SVG files out of Illustrator and export those and upload, you don't have anything to worry about, right?
Safe as houses, yeah.
Yes, exactly. But the fundamental issue is that because they're interactive, they can include things like JavaScript.
Yep.
So the part on the WordPress side that I think is really interesting, I didn't realize, is that, there's these protections in place to not allow like less privileged users to upload, executable code. And so that's what we would be unpacking, right? Is like that authors could then be able to upload code that then could turn themselves into administrator users if they've got JavaScript in there that would be, make them into a user with higher permissions. So super interesting. I learned about WPKS, I guess, is the strips, evil scripts. That's what's built into WordPress to help protect that. So I don't know. I thought it was really interesting because I never really understood the specifics of the security risks of SVG.
Yeah. So the plugins that we've got at the moment, the Safe SVG and what have you, they do double duty. They allow SVGs to be uploaded, but then they also strip out what they think is the harmful bit, and that's basically what they're proposing. The performance team is proposing. By the way, bravo performance team. There's a lot going on in the performance team at the moment, and they really are churning out an awful lot of stuff, and they've only been going for what feels like 8 minutes, and we've got all of these great things coming along. So I'm going to quote it. It says, contributors propose the idea of working on a new SVG uploads module. They are first aiming to allow users to upload SVG files without scripts. So it doesn't say that they're going to sanitize them. They're just going to make it, by the sounds of it, so that if you have, as you described, the one that you created that doesn't have scripts in it, you can upload those ones. And I don't know if in the future they're going to work on some kind of parsing of the SVG to figure out what they need to strip away. But you're right, they do present a security threat. And with that, I'll hand it over to Michelle or Nick.
Yeah. I can say that I have actually seen SVG being used for malicious things out in the wild. So it's a real threat. It's not a big one, mostly because SVG isn't used by most people. Obviously, graphic designers are all very, very familiar with SVGs because most graphic designers prefer vector formats for good reason. But a lot of website owners don't really even know what they are. But you can end up with SVG files just looking for an image for your site, Googling, looking for something. And if you download it from the wrong place, I have absolutely seen where it wasn't a WordPress site, but it was like a custom built site. And they ended up using some SVG files they found online. And one of them had some malicious code in it and it had to be taken out. It mostly was just injecting. It was like the search engine injection type stuff. So nothing overly malicious, like, taking over a server or anything, but that's still, it's a real threat. So I'm glad to see that they're taking it seriously and not just saying, okay, you can upload SVG now, best of luck.
Right. Yeah. I'd be curious to see where they go with this, whether or not it's going to strip things out or it's just going to enable things that already are pre-stripped out. But again, they are great. They're tiny. They're teeny tiny little files. And they, if you expand your SVG, it just looks just as good in the 40 megapixel image version that you were describing earlier, Michelle, as it does in teeny tiny. It's just the perfect way of doing things, but we don't have that support at the moment. Michelle, what were you going to add?
No, I said I had nothing to add. It's been said.
Okay. Alrighty. In which case, we've got the thumbs up for WebP and we've got the thumbs up for SVG. That's it. And let's go to this one. Okay. This was the WP drama from several weeks ago. WordPress.com decided that without seemingly asking what their already paying customers wanted, they decided to change the pricing structure. Now, it needs to be added that at WordPress.com, they didn't change the pricing structure for people already on. They were going to grandfather those pricing deals, but they decided that they would get rid of their different pricing tiers. So if you're looking at the image here, you can see we've got 4 tiers. We've got personal, premium, business, and e-commerce. What they did was they basically killed all of those and just went into 2 plans, I believe it was. It was the free and the $15 a month pro plan. Well, the community seems to have spoken. There was a lot of negative pushback at the time. I remember there was quite a few articles all over the interweb saying, what? This just seems madness. Why didn't anybody talk to us about this before you did it? And a few months have gone by and Automatic have backtracked, it would seem. So Automatic VP of Content, Michael Pick, said in a new pricing announcement, what we heard is that some of you missed the more granular flexibility of our previous plans. Additionally, the features you needed and pricing of the new plans didn't always align for you. So they've rolled it back basically, and now you can only have you can not only have the 2 plans. You can go for the personal, the premium, the business, and the e-commerce, and it'll be more complicated for WordPress.com administrative staff and so on. It seems that's what the community needed. If you're at WP.com, if you're grandfathered in, and apparently you can keep your free and pro account if that was something that you bought into over the last few weeks. So there you go. It's probably not a lot to say about that, is there? Shall I just move on? Yeah, okay, I will. And we'll go to this one. Oh, how I want this to be successful. This is WB Collective. I double took then, thinking I should be saying WP. This is WBcollective.dev because it stands for Website Builders Collective. And this is a project by Mike Oliver. I don't know if you've come across Mike Oliver before, but he was on the Page Builder Summit a couple of times back, and he's decided he wants to put a collective together, a community where he's going to provide learning materials and courses and community, essentially. But it's very, very specific, which I kind of like as well. So this is for people who are using either GeneratePress and or Generate Blocks. So if you're building your websites or thinking of building your websites with GeneratePress and Generate Blocks, then Mike Oliver is beginning a community. You can get it for, looks like it's going to be $20 a month, and you get two months for free if you go for the annual. And it's going to include GeneratePress and Generate Block tutorial videos, landing page and content templates, WordPress tips, design and performance, updates on the new features that are coming out. And I've got to say, if you've ever watched any of Mike's content before, it is super easy to follow. He's an excellent exemplar of building websites with these tools. So I know it stands in contrast to what you're doing over at Stellar, doesn't it, Michelle, with Cadence? But still, nice to have a community for those people who've gone a different route.
Sure.
I love this. I think, though, I was kind of surprised to see that there's a membership attached to it. I mean, obviously glad, to see it supported financially and by the way of, paying for it. But it was interesting to me to see that it was, there's a price on it to join. So
yeah. I think it's really, I don't really have any experience of building a paid community, but my understanding is that is an extremely difficult thing to do. I mean, obviously, if you've got some like red hot topic, and you are Elon Musk, you could probably put a community out there for any amount of money and people will just buy into it almost immediately. But for somebody like Mike starting this out, it's not an inconsequential amount of money, is it either? $20 a month, 240 odd a year, or I think he said that you get a couple free, so it's probably 200 a year. I think that's probably going to be the hardest bit. I have no doubt that the content on the inside will be worth every penny because he is so excellent. But I do hope that that he managed just to find enough people to make it worthwhile for him. So yeah, that was interesting. Anything on this?
It's different than like when we talk about a growing, being a community. It's different than just like starting a Facebook group. He's actually providing content that is consumable that you might want to pay for. So it's different than just like, hey, I want to throw a bunch of people in a room and see what happens. This is more like he's building courses and he's building a community based on that. I'm just curious which LMS he's using, but that's a story for another day.
Well, I can tell you actually, because he does mention it, and he's not using
Does
a
he?
WordPress one. Yeah,
Oh,
well, I say
interesting.
it's not WordPress. Hold on. The word is Podio. Is that a thing? Podio. Have you heard of that word before? Let me find Podio. There you go. The course platform is podio.com, which sounds like a SaaS solution. I've no experience. I've never even heard of it before. But Podia. Sorry, not Podio. Podia. And yeah, but look. So here's Matt Davis chiming in, saying Mike will definitely be successful. He's a smart dude, great designer, and the offering looks ideal for people wanting to get into WordPress blocks ecosystem. Offer looks good for the audience, and the price is definitely in the affordable. And then what does it say?
Category.
It got cut off on the screen, but I'm going to continue reading it. The affordable category. He should be charging more, in Matt's opinion. I imagine he will in the future. Yeah, and thank you. He's confirming that it's a SaaS LMS, and he's using Podia. Thank you for that. Yeah, so what I find really interesting about this one, though, is that he's not trying to hit everybody. He's not trying to do the WordPress course. He's going only for that, what must be a fairly small market, people using GeneratePress and or generate blocks. So immediately you've got the WordPress community, which is huge, down to a tiny little sliver. And I don't know what his expectations are, but I do like the idea that he can concentrate on being hyper laser focused on that exact thing. You have to keep your ears peeled on this one, Michelle, and see if there's a cadence variant to be done at some point.
Yeah, I will say I've been a member of the GeneratePress community on Facebook for many years now, and it really is a great team behind GeneratePress. Mostly Tom, but there is a team there that's helping out, and the community is great. There's a lot of good interaction there, and I guess if I can offer any unsolicited advice, not actually to Mike, but rather anyone who joins this community, is get involved and start conversations. I've seen a lot of communities start up and users and members who join the community, and they come in and they say, "Oh, this community is boring. There's no conversation. I'm done with it." But someone needs to start the conversations. Mike can only start so many conversations and post so many things. So if it's going to be a community, everyone's got to get involved. So hopefully people will do that and start more conversation and get things going, because that's how you get a nice, strong community that lasts as long as the Facebook one they've had.
Yeah, I guess he's been making free content for the longest time around this. I don't know what the cadence is. Sorry, I meant literally with a C. How often he's putting that content out, but it feels like he's done loads and loads of videos over a long period of time. And I suppose the moment does arrive where you think to yourself, actually, I really enjoy doing this. I appear to be quite good at it because people are telling me I'm quite good at it. And every time I put out a video, people tell me how fabulously instructive it was. And I guess at some moment a little light bulb goes on. You say, do you know what, I could do this. I could do the exact same thing and possibly make a little bit of revenue for it, and also just do a boatload more of it. And I don't know what the user base that he's looking for is, but basically he does say he wants to move away from client work and he wants to move into content creation, and this is a way of doing it. And if he can get 50 or 100, I don't know what the number is, then he can start to do that and swell the offering that he's got. So yeah. Thank you, Kathy. I genuinely didn't mean to make that slip up, but yeah, cadence is an actual word as well, it turns out, but it's spelt differently. Okay, so best of luck, Mike. I hope that goes well. Maybe we'll get you on the show at some point and you can show us what you've got in there. That'd be nice. Okie dokie. Let's move on. Oh, by the way, I should share the URL. I don't know if I did. I probably did. WBcollective.net. And it will be in the show notes, which come out tomorrow. Okay. Right. Look, there's that annoying grey box again. Look at that. I'm going to hide it. I'm so hiding that. Look, you remember I was talking about the performance team and the fact that they're just on fire? More proof if it were needed. This is Felix Arntz from the performance team. Bravo. Talking about the fact that they want to streamline the process of getting plugins included in the WordPress repository. So at the moment, and I don't really have much insight into how all this works, but at the moment there is a theme check plugin, which is a tool, and I'm just going to read off the screen. It says a tool which statically analyzes a given WordPress theme to determine if it follows certain theme developments, requirements, and best practices. In other words, they've automated the process of turning people down to some extent. In other words, if you fall foul of major clangers, the software can spot it. Well, there's nothing on the plugin side, and obviously there's absolutely boatloads of plugins. The reason I suspect is because it's more difficult to do. Themes very constrained in what they can do. It's about the way that the website looks largely, and plugins can do, well, anything. I mean, literally anything. So there's been that. And so the primary goal of this is to provide plugin developers with feedback on requirements and best practices during development, provide the WordPress.org plugin review team with an additional automated tool to identify certain problems and weaknesses before manual review happens. So it's not when the intention here isn't to cut out the manual review. I think it's just to put a hurdle in the way so that there's at least the stuff that can be automatically identified is automatically identified, and provide technical site owners with a tool to assess plugins based on those requirements. It's going to be a plugin itself, allowing it to be used in other environments to the theme checker. However, the scope of the plugin checker should preferably be slightly expanded so that it can better adapt to different environments. I'm getting all of this from make.wordpress.org. It was published on the 5th of July, so it's not exactly brand new, but it's called Proposal for WordPress Plugin Checker. I think this kind of stuff presumably is being done to save hours and hours and hours of manual checking, which I guess in this day and age doesn't really need to happen. Over to you.
Yeah, I think this is a long time coming. I think anyone who knows anyone on the plugins team knows how hard they work and just how nonstop it is, just like what was going on with the themes team and having to try and review just, sometimes thousands of submissions all at once. And I think really this addresses probably one of the biggest misconceptions in the WordPress space, and is going to help with it, which is something that my company deals with a lot, because all the time we see people who think that the more plugins you have, the worse your site is going to be. And that can be the case. But the thing is, one bad plugin can be way worse than 10 good plugins on your site.
Yeah.
And so I think having something that's going to be checking performance of plugins is really going to help hopefully dispel that myth of more plugins equals bad. I mean, don't put 300 plugins on your website, please, please, please. But I'm hoping that this will help people understand that there are good plugins, there are bad plugins, and I don't mean malicious necessarily. I mean, sometimes it's just the developer either didn't know how to write better code, or didn't know about all sorts of things like asynchronous loading and stuff like that. And so you can have somebody who made a great looking plugin that just absolutely bogs down a site.
Right.
And you can have, like I said, 10 people who created very streamlined plugins that do all of those same features. And those 10 will load faster than the one that's not as well done. And so what they're putting here in this checker, hopefully, what's in the proposal, is going to really help address that and deal with all those free plugins that maybe were not very well coded. And I think more than anything, it's going to help developers as well. Because if you are new to it, you write some not so great code and you submit it and they say, okay, well, it doesn't break the site and it doesn't have malicious code, therefore we'll allow it. You, as a developer, you don't necessarily learn, at least not as fast as you would if your plugin was being checked easily like that. You may not learn that there's a better way to do it. And so hopefully we're going to see the overall WordPress plugin ecosystem improve because of this.
I think it's important to re-emphasize that this is being done by the performance team. So I guess there's a component of it which is trying to release up hours of people's time in the theme review process, but it is also trying to provide technical site owners, as I said, with a tool to assess plugins based on those requirements and best practices. So the intention here is also to give the rest of us presumably automated performance data. Okay, this plugin is doing this, and this. Have you thought about an alternative? Is there something else that you could do? And I'll just read at the bottom, I'll quote, it says, one of the main complexities around plugins compared to themes is that the plugins essentially have almost unlimited feature set. They can do anything. This makes it impossible to predict their expected behavior. It also complicates defining a reliable set of rules and guidelines to check for. However, there are certain ways to at least detect what a plugin does. For example, using certain WordPress APIs, such as to register post types and blocks. Such detection mechanisms would benefit from runtime checks as well. For example, a plugin may not affect the homepage of the website in any way, but it could cause several issues in posts on certain post types and so on and so forth. So, yeah, the intention isn't just about freeing up time. It is also about getting developers some handy automated information, presumably that could be run almost the moment you submit your plugin. It might be able to give you data back within half an hour or something, which would be really useful for you to know, what, this plugin's got no chance of being accepted on the repository. Go back, have a little bit of think about this, and this, saving a lot of people's time.
We also know that the plugin review team has now had to become anonymized because of threats and lashback. And so if this was automated and you were getting an automated response, it takes a little bit of that animosity away. It's not a person that said, your plugin is bad. It's like, it didn't meet the basic requirements.
That's
so
right.
You have to look at it again.
You can rail it. You can rail against the software.
Rage against the machine, I think is
right. Yeah.
But what I would love to see too is thinking back to I don't want to say lowest common denominator as in negativity, but people who build their own websites and then try to maintain them and don't know the difference between 40,000 pixels and whatever are the people who also go, oh good, there's no updates. I don't have any plugin updates that I have to do. Then there are those of us who go, wow, that plugin hasn't had an update in a really long time. That's a red flag, right? And so I would love to see show up on our dashboard, our plugin dashboard, say, this plugin has been sitting here for 3 years and haven't had an update. You might want to look at that,
right.
Because you go to the repo and it says, hey, you might not want to download this one because it hasn't had an update since, it's not necessarily hasn't been checked for compatibility with the current, WordPress version. We don't see that in the dashboard, though.
Nick, do you do that kind of stuff with your clients? Do you, for example, alert them to the fact that you've had a plugin that really hasn't been updated for, well, let's say 4 years is a really catastrophically long time. Do you do that kind of thing? Do you get in touch with them and say, look, this plugin really is not to be trusted anymore, or you need to update it, or indeed, can we swap this one out for this one because we've got misgivings about things?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that does come up all the time. Someone will have a plugin and perhaps that plugin is known to have a security vulnerability, or it's been so long since it's been updated that you just don't know, is there a security vulnerability that's just not known? And so, yeah, that is something that we all the time are having to contact people and say, hey, you've got this plugin, it's been abandoned, or you've got this plugin and it's just causing issues. So we do handle that from both a security and a performance perspective, because bad plugins really are threefold in that they can be bad for security, they can be bad for performance, and they can be bad for user experience. And so,
yeah,
for all those reasons, it is nice to be able to use a tool like this. And I'm actually excited that, their proposal includes making this a plugin itself. So you can actually load this up on any site you want and run the plugin checker. And so that's hopefully going to be a new tool that can maybe work along that a lot of us use on the management side.
Yeah, that's nice. I actually had a quirky situation the other day where I was informed by the software that I use to update client websites and so on, that a plugin had been abandoned, and I can't remember what the threshold is. It's like 24 months or 18 months or something like that since the last update. And when I looked into it further, it was quite curious because this plugin it did the tiniest, most of unimportant of things. And I contacted the developer and said, "Are you intending to update?" He said, "Well, we would, but there's nothing to update. Everything that we wrote back then is still totally valid. There's no security threat. We do one thing, and it's like the whole plugin is about 8 lines of code. Nothing's changed." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting, because it's being flagged on my software as a potential problem." And he said, "Yeah, that is curious. Maybe we should just go in and update it with literally a comment or something." I said, "Yeah, that might be a sensible idea. At least it would look like it was being updated." So there are situations where that may not matter. I do apologize for the fact that I'm going further and further into the pearly gates of heaven, but the sun here is beating down, and
don't go into the light.
That's
Don't
right.
go into the light, Nathan.
Yeah, slowly going towards heaven. Right. Okay. Fascinating. Kristen, I forget.
I just wanted to say, like, I mean, from the security side, I think the plugin checker is really going to be a good thing, right? Because we release a vulnerability report every single week at iThemes, and we're seeing anywhere from 20 to 100 new vulnerabilities, specifically in plugins, each week. And so the amount of plugins that are being closed or shut down due to those issues, but they're not being patched, I think getting those vulnerabilities as a proactive measure spotted before plugins are even approved is going to be a huge win for the community as a whole, because plugins really are the biggest source of vulnerabilities at the moment. Lots of people using vulnerable plugins. So
just so that you know, Kristen, we feature your plugin vulnerability pretty much every time it comes out. Sometimes it's a toss-up because there's the rival WordFence or something like that produces something more or less on the same day. So, but yeah, it's going in this week. So there you go. It is definitely read by people like me. So that's nice. Okay, right, moving on. Let's have a look at this one. Another nice thing. We got loads of nice things going on in WordPress, and they're all making it easier to use. This is fabulous. Sarah Gooding, WP Tavern. The article's called WordPress Themes Directory Launches Pattern Previews in Beta. Sorry, I don't know. You say beta or something, don't you? Beta, we say. Meta contributors have turned on a new feature in WordPress.org theme listings that allow visitors to preview themes' bundled patterns. If you're looking at the screen, you can see what I'm talking about. It says a grid displaying the patterns is now shown underneath a theme's description and tags. These are automatically fetched from any theme that registers patterns and works for both block and classic themes. And this kind of goes to the piece that we were talking about a minute ago, where it feels to me like the theme, the whole thing of the theme, is slowly being usurped by patterns. And I want to know more about what the patterns will look like in a theme than ever before. I don't want to see the portfolio layout. I don't want to see, what the About Us page looks like. I want to see what patterns you've got that would help me build those kind of things. And so this is now possible. We're looking at something from the Zeever themes, Zeever, and you can see there's a grid of 9 patterns. Presumably on the screen they would look significantly larger than they do on my screen, and it's showing like what the homepage might look like, what a pattern for a homepage might look like. There's a 404 pattern. There's various other ones with rows and columns all laid out with iconography and so on. And this just seems like such a great idea. If you click on the pattern, it's going to launch within the theme preview so that people can see what it looks like in the context of the theme, but you won't be able to manipulate it or customize it or anything like that. Allegedly, there are some problems with it. For example, I think like Woo, if you're trying to do things with Woo, it's not working there at the moment. But this is a beta. We're just trying this out. To me, this is totally where I want to see WordPress going. If a theme comes with patterns, I want to see what those patterns look like in a large, full-size view. And I just think this is dead cool and the future. So there you go.
You heard it here. The future is patterns by Nathan Wrigley.
That's it. That's what I think anyway. Well, I mean, maybe it's not, but it kind of feels it. It really does feel like it to me. It does say here, a quirk at the moment is that the patterns designed to be full width or wide width may not display as intended. The issue should be resolved soon. Themes without, an important point, if you're designing themes at the moment and you're not using patterns at all, it says themes without patterns are not necessarily disadvantaged by this new preview section, as the pattern directory has grown considerably since its launch to host more than 800 block patterns. Anyway, I think that's cool. If nobody's got anything, I'll go on to the next one. But if you do, go for it now.
I'll just say that patterns and the use of them across your site can really lend to your branding. So it can really become a cohesive element throughout your website and match your branding for sure. So I think it's really kind of cool.
And I think this is something that, again, is one of those, it's been a long time coming. I think we've all dealt with that situation when you're looking at the theme repository and you just kind of get that one picture that it doesn't really tell you what the theme really looks like. And so, these theme patterns also give you much more of a preview for actually like how things are going to look in the theme, other than just kind of that like real quick, like home, like blog roll page that we've all had to look at now for whatever it's been, 15 years or something.
Kristen, anything to add to that?
I love it. I think it's going to enhance the experience of picking a theme. So
yeah, pure and simple. It will. It totally will. I just love the fact that it's all kind of like these little components, these little modular bits that it's like jigsaws or Legos. You're increasingly building up the website rather than just downloading the gigantic mega theme that attempts to do everything. Just this bare bones theme, which has got a header and a footer and a few patterns, and you can go and get patterns from elsewhere and chuck them in. It just seems like I don't know. It just seems like it's going to bring a bit of fun back into it all. You can swap things, put things in, immediately decide that's no good, delete them, chuck it in again, and there's just almost zero friction to doing it. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah, combine that with the variations that we were talking about before, and boom, you've got a whole quick builder. You can get a website set up in 10 minutes.
Get your SVGs in there, get your WebPs in there, get your patterns thrown in, and before you know it, you'll be having a party all by yourself building WordPress websites.
It's a website salad.
That's right. Oh, go and register that domain straight away. Website salad.
Do we have .salad as a
we should.
top-level domain yet?
My favorite domain ending is .fish. I can't believe you can buy a .fish domain. Is there any domain on earth with the .fish ending? I'd be surprised. By the way, it was you, Nick, earlier who said that you shouldn't go out and install 300 plugins. I am going to write a plugin called 300 plugins, just so that you can say to people, don't install 300 plugins.
Yeah, you can find it at
by Nathan Wrigley. It's not to be trusted. Yeah. Okay, right. Let's get back to the stuff. I'd just like to raise the fact that I created a podcast episode with the fabulous Amber Hines. It came out last week, so it's fresh off the presses. Amber Hines, if you don't know, she's from Equalize Digital, and she specializes in trying to get the rest of us who don't place the importance on accessibility. She's trying to really upskill us and teach us what we need to know. And in the episode, I think it's almost an hour long. We go right into it all, what you kind of need to be worrying about at the moment, what you don't need to be worrying about, whether or not something is better than nothing, or should it be all in 100% or nothing at all. And it was just really interesting. She highlights absolutely boatloads of, you can see at the bottom here, there's a whole load of tools and resources that she recommends. And if you're new to accessibility, and you are going to have to be good at this in the very near future, I feel, then this was a really good 101 introduction to the whole topic. I don't suppose anybody's got anything to say about that, maybe around accessibility in general, but if not, I'll move on.
Amber did just do a course with iThemes training last month.
Oh, nice.
And so if anybody wants to dive into this a little bit more, she had a really great 2-day course on accessibility. So over at iThemes training. Yep.
Okay.
And I think I saw her on... Go ahead.
Oh, go.
I think I saw her on the attendee list for WordCamp US, and I haven't met her in person yet. So she's one of those people that I really want to seek out and say hello to.
And Kristen, thank you. I will drop that link into the browser here quickly, and we'll have a quick look. What do we got? iThemes. So this is training.ithemes.com. WordPress Accessibility Bootcamp. Coming up, or already happened. Coming up.
June. Yeah, June 28th.
Oh, June. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I saw that, and for some reason I was looking at my clock and saw July. So, okay, so it's happened already. But she is brilliant, very good, and also just like grounds you in it. Talking about the fact that whilst you need to worry about it, it's not worry with a capital W. It's worry about it as in start to get yourself upskilled, start to make your boss think about it a little bit more. We actually got into that whole thing about, well, what if your boss doesn't care at all about this? And she talks about strategies and how it's a good idea from a search point of view and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you for that. All righty. Now, Michelle, just before the show started, Michelle told me about this one. This is, well, you tell me what this is. This is an exciting moment in Michelle's life. A certain great number is about to be reached. And what are you doing here, Michelle?
So I'm just excited. It's taken a little while, of course. I'm almost at 10,000 followers on Twitter. And I thought, what would be more fun than like to do some fun giveaways when you reach 10,000 followers? I'm 18 followers away.
Okay, so there's more than 18 people watching this at the minute. So if you all just go and follow Michelle, then
viewers already. That's right.
That's right. But what do you have you solidified what it is that you're going to give away, or what kind of quirky things you're going to do?
It's right there.
Okay. Here we go. Ooh.
There you go. There's the prizes. So an autographed copy of my book, A Good Firm Handshake and Other Essential Business Tips, an hour-long Pick My Brain session. So if you've always wanted to just like ask me questions and I can give you help, I do coaching and I do mentoring and things like that. This is an opportunity to do that. And then also, because I love coffee, I'll do a coffee gift box. So 3 prizes, 3 winners. There are some rules, and if you scroll down, you'll see my WS form on there that gives you all the information you need to be able to submit an entry.
Right, I've put Michelle's Twitter handle on the screen there. It's at Michelle Ames, MICHELLEAMES, and no doubt with that you'll be at like 44,000 by tomorrow morning. Ha!
That'd be nice.
That would be nice. What a milestone! Do you place? I know that you're treating this with a bit of fun and all that, but do you, Michelle? Do you place like importance on this kind of stuff? Does that 10,000 actually mean something to you? It's a fun thing to do, but do you?
It's fun and exciting. I just love sharing with people. I don't get really technical in what I tweet. It's mostly fun. It's mostly community kind of stuff. And I just love building community within WordPress and the other people that in my life that follow me over there, and seeing people connect and learn and grow. And if I can be part of that, then that just makes me happy.
Can I ask, because we all know, because I talk about it all the time, I am so bad at Twitter. There's something about me and Twitter. We don't get along. And I find that if I follow lots and lots and lots of people, so many hundreds, I get confused about what's going on. And also I don't really get to see the things that I want to see because it's sort of diluted a lot. So I don't know if that's a thing, but or are you one of those people that follows 150 gazillion people and hopes for the best with their feed?
I will definitely unfollow people that are spamming Twitter. Yep. And there are words and phrases that I have on like a block list, or if you will, like a filter list. So anything political doesn't usually show up in my feed anymore. I saw Chris Wigman yesterday was posted that he figured out how to filter out Wordle, so he doesn't want to see people's Wordle scores anymore. So he found a way that won't show up in his newsfeed. So basically, Nathan, I think you need to sign up. You need to win that hour consultation. And
That's right.
I will teach you Twitter.
It's a recurring theme. I don't get it. I don't get how replies are populated and where the thing that I just don't really get it. And I've never spent the time getting it. But I also didn't know what you just said was true. I didn't realize that there was a way that I could insulate things in my Twitter feed. So like, for example,
I just remember it. So you can mute words and you can mute phrases.
Okay. And you can do that all in the Twitter UI, can you?
Yes.
You see, that's how good I am at Twitter. I didn't know that you could mute things. Okay, that's great. I've got a laundry list of words. But you see, my strategy for avoiding that was just to not follow people or unfollow people when I realized that a proportion of their tweets were about things which they're very keen on, but don't necessarily cross paths with what I'm keen on. And I felt that was a bit of a blunt instrument, because I want to see the majority of what you wanted to say, but maybe there's this odd bit. And now that I know that you can mute things, I'm going to go and write the word Wordle also. There you go. All right, thank you. You guys big on Twitter, Carmen and Nick? You get into Twitter and use it a lot?
Yeah, I'm terrible at Twitter, which Michelle knows very well, and she tries so hard to get me to be better at it, and I'm just not. But she tells me when there's something I need to see, so that's what's important.
Yeah,
this is true. I text him things to look at on Twitter.
But you see, that to me is about the most useful person on Twitter, is the person that's keenly interested. So in my case, it's WordPress, right? That's basically what I want to see on Twitter. I mean, my family and friends and all of that, nobody's really using it for that. We're all doing it in other ways. And so I just want to see the WordPress stuff. So when I see a link from somebody who I know is into that, so like you, for example, Michelle, that's immediately got my attention, because I know that it'll be useful, and you'll have applied your own filter to that already, which is great.
Well, that means you didn't see my tweet yesterday where I had the most epic bedhead ever, and felt the need to share that photo on my
Actually,
Twitter
I did see that one. I did see that was the close up of you and your face, right? Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. I don't know if that would have made it through my filter if I'd have been applying mutes. And okay. Oh well, thank you. And Carmen, are you a Twitter user? I guess for iThemes and
I think
things
you mean Kristen.
Sorry, what did I just say?
Carmen.
Carmen's my friend though. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I said Carmen was because Carmen's just written a comment down here, look, and I've just spied it and said, sorry, Kristen.
No, it's fine. I'm probably a casual Twitter user. Michelle also knows that I'm not the best at Twitter. I can find it quite addicting if I'm not careful, because, you're just scrolling endlessly. But here in Oklahoma City, we have a pretty active weather Twitter, because our weather is pretty wild here. So I do follow a couple of hashtags related to our weather. So.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. So we don't want to get into the whole Elon Musk thing, do we? No, we do not. We're not. We're going to stay on the WordPress thing.
You can mute the word Elon.
Oh, do you know what? I don't really know anybody that's talking about that, but it's actually got into the mainstream press over here, which is just abhorrent. Who anyway, let's not get into that. Let's carry on. Right. So from one Michelle thing. So go and find that out. That's Michelle's. That's meetmichelle.online, and the latest post you can find out about that. But also, you've got a sale on over at Stella. This is a whopper.
We do.
This is a big one.
This is Black Friday in July for an entire week across all of our Stellar brands.
Can I just ask, has this begun, or are we getting a sneak peek?
It did. No, this started today. It started today. It runs through the end of the month, the 31st. And it's 40% off of all the Stellar plugins. So if you were to scroll down, you'll see all the different plugins and the links through to those sites. And yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Let me just get the URL on there. So I don't know if it's applied across the website as regular website, but if you want to see it all in one page, it's stellarwp.com/Stellar-sale. Right, let's have a look. iThemes down from $80 to $48. Restrict Content Pro from, let's call it 100 down to, let's call it 60. LearnDash monthly pricing.
That's the cloud. That's our brand new LearnDash cloud. Instead of $29 a month, it's $14 a month to start.
That's more than 40 though, right? That's more like 50 something. Oh yeah, it says there. Look, 50% off. For the first. Can I just? I'm going to be annoying. Look.
I see it. I'll fix it later.
For the first 3 months, which I like it. Shut up, Wrigley. The events calendar. This is the one that interests me. I run an event, and this is intriguing. Down from 230, let's call it, to 283. 183. Yeah, it's gone down from 230 to 283. It's gone down by a negative amount. Give WP 350 to 210. Cadence WP 220 to, what is that? 130.
131, yeah.
Iconic 300 to 180. and orderable 150 to 90, more or less. I'm rounding, but valid. This offer is going to keep going until the 31st of July. So you've got another 6 odd days. Is that literally everything that you guys have? There's all of it. Wow. That's neat. Yep. I'm going to add that into the show notes as well, and let's see if we can get you some sales of stellar stuff. You're welcome. No, that's great.
I'm gonna get you a new T-shirt because you wear T-shirts on the show, and I got to be repped. So you're getting some T-shirts coming your way.
I do wear T-shirts on this show, but you've probably noticed I have basically 3 T-shirts, and it's one of those 3. So complete aside, I'm the kind of person that the T-shirt that's on the top of the pile, that's what's getting worn today. And whatever's on the top tomorrow is going to get worn tomorrow. So some weeks it just goes 1, 2, 1, 2 as I wash one and just put it straight on. I'm a bit more of a Steve Jobs. So if you send me one and it makes it to the top of the pile, it's going to be on for weeks.
That works.
they almost walk themselves. Right. Okay. So Stellar WP sale. Very cool. Right. We said at the beginning of the show that we were going to add something to your biography. Here it is.
Yes. So this isn't
just
even
hang on. Wait. This is the coolest URL. Like, I do not know how you got this. WP.events. Anything that begins with 2 letters, I thought was like basically not available. How did you get it?
It was available. I don't know how to say
that's just so good. If you go and try
December,
to get 2 letters,
I was in San Antonio, and there we go. Like WP.com, of course not, but WP.events was available. And with one of our plugins is the events calendar, and there is no longer there's no longer a website that shows all of the different WordPress events. So you have, wordcamp.org, which shows all the WordCamps. You have Meetup, which shows the meetups. But you don't have anything that shows the summits and the webinars and all of the different events that we can all be part of. And so I wanted to create a website that would be a repository for all of those different things. And so we're using the events calendar, of course. If you scroll down, you'll see the events that I've already loaded into the site. And at the top and at the bottom, you have the opportunity to add your own event as well. So when the next Page Builder Summit comes up, I expect you to put that in here, and we'll get that added as well. And so, we've got a brand new logo for it. Thank you to Alex Minev over at Stellar Liquid Web helping us out there at the Stellar level. And yes, we'd love to see your events in here. This is the softest launch ever because I'm putting out a press release later this week, and so those of you who are listening now are getting the scoop. But this is exciting. We actually started working on it 2 weeks ago, and here it is, ready to go already.
So it's user submitted. So if you've got an event, you have to reach out, which you can simply do by clicking this button at the top. You click the Add Event button, you'll be taken to a fairly easy to fill out form with the, what you'd expect, cost and website URL and category and so on. And then you're manually creating those, are you? And just deciding which ones go on and so on?
So it will go into holding for moderation, and I will go through and I'll get a notification. And when those come in, I will go through, create the graphic that goes with it using your logo or whatever you've submitted, and then approve those in so that they will be part of the repository at WP.events.
And just like I said, the best URL. I'm highly, highly impressed that you managed to get anything with 2 letters. That's pretty cool. WP events. I wanted to say .com, you see, at the end of that. WP events. No. WP.event.
And shout out to Cadence. We used the Cadence theme on this, and to Nexus for hosting the site.
There you go. It's all in-house. That's kind of cool as well, isn't it? That's really nice.
Absolutely.
Okie dokie.
Are there any plans for doing an email newsletter for this? Like, it would be kind of
eventually,
cool.
yes.
Cool.
Yep. Eventually, yes. So we'll have a sign up that people can. You can automatically subscribe to the calendar. So you'll see that below the calendar, there's a way to subscribe to the calendar itself. And then eventually, we're going to be building into here a way that we can share newsletter things with you as well.
Show me when you say the calendar, where do I see that? Okay.
Right below the last entry.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Got it. Okay, I'm going to do that when we finish this because because that's exactly the sort of thing that I want to know. That's right up my street. Thank you very much for making the effort. And I will put the Page Builder Summit on whenever it manages to come around.
Well, since Stellar got me really excited about discounts, I actually, while we were talking, I just launched a 25% discount on all of our monthly plans for people watching this, which is actually the highest discount we've offered all year. So if you use the code WP Builds,
just see what
you guys got me excited about discounts. Let's do it.
That's Nick. When this is finished, when we hit stop, can we talk about that? And I'll make sure that I get the right URL and mention it and so on. That's incredibly kind. If I had a product, I would be discounting it right now. But I have no product, so I'm not going to. But anyway, there we go. I have my 300 plugins project, which will be coming to fruition very soon. But it's going to be free anyway. So, okay, right.
Plugins.fish.
Yeah, that's .fish. That's it. We're sticking with the iThemes because this one came across my radar, and we just happen to have Kristen on the call today. This is kind of cool. New feature coming to iThemes security, and it's biometric logins and passkeys for WordPress. So it sounds complicated. Do you just want to give us the high level lowdown of what all this means and how this might affect the login process?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited to talk about this publicly for the first time. So this is kind of
another scoop.
Yeah. So we are going to be adding biometric logins and passkeys as a primary login method to WordPress. So this is actually, we're really excited about it. It's been months in the work, but if anybody's familiar with the WebAuthn protocol, which is kind of a fancy way of saying it's the future of logins, right? Like it's passwordless logins, but if your device or browser supports Face ID, Touch ID, Windows Hello, even YubiKey, you'll be able to log into WordPress directly with those methods. So it's hands down the future of logins, and it's innovative in so many ways. And I think for people who build websites for clients, there's always this issue of getting clients to use two-factor or strong passwords or a password manager. This is going to solve all those problems. So we're really excited about this. It's coming in a few more weeks, but this is going to be our preview where we get to show it off for the first time.
Okay, so what we're showing here is not the technology itself. We're showing on the page here the fact that they've got an hour-long presentation with Timothy Jacobs, which is on the 10th of August. So not that far away. You can register for it now. I'll put the link in the show notes, but I want to drill down on the technology now for a minute, if you don't mind. Yeah. So it's using this protocol, WebAuthn protocol, which I guess there's going to be an implementation in iThemes security where you can just switch off the traditional username and password process. So you'll go to your website, I don't know, /WP-admin or something, and you may not want to give too much away. I don't really know. But if, let's say, for example, I'm on my iPhone, how does it work? Am I going to be given the option to log in with Face ID and I'll hold the phone up to my face and I'm in? That's all there is to it. It's seamless.
Yeah, it'll give the options of registering different devices too. So, I mean, you're not going to only be logging in from your phone. In fact, like we talked at length about how many users actually log into their WordPress site from their mobile device.
Good point. Yeah.
Right. But I think a lot of customers do. Like if you run a WooCommerce shop where you like an events calendar site where you're selling tickets, like you probably do have a lot of customers that log in from their phone. So it's something that it's going to change things. Every time we've seen a demo, our minds are just blown. And so I think one of the best examples right now, though, is Apple. If you log into your Apple, account, Apple ID from Safari, you'll see kind of how that flow works. Well, it'll look like that for WordPress. So it's just.
That's cool. That's really, really cool. Now, before the show started, and you mentioned that you wanted to talk about this, I told you that I have one of these things, this little YubiKey device, which is a USB. It's basically a keyboard on a tiny little USB stick. And I use this to secure as much as I possibly can. This too, I could log in with this.
Yep. WebAuthn supports YubiKey, so you'll be able to do it as well. So it's incredible. We're super excited to be bringing this. I mean, secure logins is still, besides vulnerable plugins, secure logins are like the two big things about securing WordPress. So this is going to be awesome.
This is going to be awesome. I love all this kind of stuff. I don't understand the implementations and how the actual tech works, but
And
I
often
do.
we're using a YubiKey. I actually don't know that many people that use YubiKeys, so
Yeah. I have a whole cupboard full of tinfoil hats for when the aliens invade, and I just don't want any of that radiation. It's all going on, and so yeah, absolutely brilliant. And if you combine this with the Stellar WP offer that we mentioned earlier, where they're knocking 40% off, then maybe this is a good time to jump in if that excites you. That's brilliant. Yeah, thank you for that. What a great. I use iThemes for 2FA already, and I like the implementation that you've got. I often end up with the SMS code and the and what's the other one that I use, the email. Sometimes I use that option as well, but I do like the idea of being able to plug that YubiKey in.
Yeah, and I'll point out, a lot of other implementations of this so far for WordPress have been as a two-factor alternative. But this isn't going to be an alternative. It's going to be the primary login method. So you won't have to still have that extra step in with two-factor to be able to log right in. So.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. Really cool. Okie dokie. So that I'll put the link in the show notes. That's going to be a talk by Timothy Jacobs on the 10th of August, showing off that nice shiny new feature. And that's all I've got, I think, except unless Nick has got a URL for me with the coupon code. I could share that quickly. If not.
So I right now just go to wpbuffs.com and use the coupon code WPBuilds and get 25% off your first month of any of our plans.
I'm going to call this one the coupon show, I think, because we're doing pretty good this time. Every week we need to come up with a name for the show, and often it's a bit sarcastic and pithy. But I think we'll call this one coupon. No, I might call it. Kristen. I might call it Kristen is actually called Carmen. You never know. We'll see how we go.
I thought it was going to be .fish.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay. There's too many. That's all I've got. I don't know if you guys have got anything you want to throw in. We're going to finish possibly 5 minutes early, but that's okay with me. Call it .fish, says Cameron. Perfect.
Cameron and I are often on the same wavelength.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say
fun.
that.
Yeah, it's interesting. But that's it. I'd like to say thank you to Michelle, obviously, one of our 6 rotating. I'm going to go for rotating co-hosts. I like that. The next time I want to see you actually spinning around.
That's not going to happen.
No. And thank you also to Kristen. See what I did there, and also to Nick. Really appreciate having you on. I'd love to have you, both of you, back. We know Michelle will be coming back, but Kristen or Nick, if you want to come back at any point, we'll talk about that after the show's ended. Now, unfortunately, both of you may not be aware of this. I am now about to humiliate you horribly, because you have to raise your hands, because this is how the image goes, and we just do this for like 3 or 4 seconds. It's terribly embarrassing, and it's over. And you can now lower your hands, and I'm going to say thank you very much. Thank you to all those people who wrote us a comment. Really appreciate your participation. We'll be back next week. Next week's going to be the last one because I'm going to have a week off to go on holiday, which will be quite nice. So I'll see you